Rounding. We round numbers when all we need is a reasonable approximation rather than the exact value. And so it's important to remember, if you have something that ends in 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 0, we round down. And if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we round up. Okay, so we can do this by number, or we can state decimal places, or we can state significant figures. Let's just look at a few examples, because that will probably be the simplest way. So round 3,647.5 to the nearest. And then here in question A, we have whole number. Okay, so these are going to be rounding to a number. Whole number, that just means the ones column. So if we write out the number, the original number here, 3,647.5, we want to round this to the nearest whole number. Okay, so that's this column, right? It's the ones. So we look to the right of the ones and we see a 5. So as I said on the previous slide, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we round down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we round up. So this is a 5, so we're going to round up. So that means that we will write the answer as 3,648. Okay, so we rounded the 7 up to an 8 because to the right of it is a 5. Let's write the original number again, 3,647.5. And here we're going to round to the nearest 10. So here's the tens column. Okay, so we look to the right of the 4 and it's a 7. So again, we round up. So that means that the 4 will become a 5. And since we're rounding to closest tens, after that, we'll actually just put a 0, 3,650. Okay, so the closest ones was 8. The closest tens is 5 for 50. Let's round this value to the closest 100. So now we're looking at this column here with a 6. Okay, so we look to the right of the 6, we see a 4. So now this time we're rounding down. That means that we're going to maintain our 6. So we have 3,600. Now we'll take the number and we will round to the closest 1,000. So now we're looking at the 3. We look to the right of the 3, it's a 6. That means we round up. So this number here, 3,647.5, rounded to the closest 1,000, is 4,000. This should make sense, okay, because 3,647, it's definitely more than halfway. It's definitely more than 3,500. And so the closest 1,000 means we should round up. We should round to 4,000. If this was 3,100, then certainly we would round closer to 3,000, right? It would be very close to 3,000, but this is a larger number. It's definitely, the 6 is above 5, and we round up. Write 13.68592 correct to, and then we have these 3 different options or questions. So A says, writing this correct to 1 decimal place. So we'll write the original number, and we're looking at the first decimal place. So we look to the right of the 6, it's an 8, that means we round up. So we're simply going to write 13.7, and that's this number written correctly to 1 decimal place. Let's write it to 3 decimal places. Okay, so we write our original number. We count 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So we're looking here that we're going to see what to do with the 5. We look to the right, it's a 9. That means we round up. So the 5 will become a 6. So we'll write 13.686. Okay, let's take this number and make it correct to 2 decimal places. That means we're looking here. We look to the right of the 8, it's a 5, that means we're rounding up, so 13.69. Okay, we said correct to 1 decimal place, so there's 1, 3 decimal places, so there's 3, 2 decimal places, so there's 2. Again, we find where we're looking, check the value to the right, and decide whether you round up or down. Okay, now we're talking about significant figures, which I've short formed here, sig fig. But this means significant figures, so that means we count all the numbers except when we get to number C. We'll talk about that. So, first of all, A, 3.642 correct to 2 sig fig. 2 sig fig. So first I'll write the original number. 2 sig fig, 2 significant figures means I just count 1, 2. Okay, I start from the left and I count 2 numbers, 3.6. So that means I'm going to decide what to do with this 6. I look to the right, it's a 4, so I'm rounding down. So writing this correct to 2 sig fig means I simply write 3.6 or 3.6. Let's write this large number, 314,269, correct to 3 sig fig. So there's the number, 3 sig fig. Start from the left and count 1, 2, 3 numbers. Look to the right of the 4, because that's the third number. It's a 2, so we're going to round down. Okay, so we're going to write 314,000. 314,000. That's this number here, correct to 3 sig fig. All right, let's write this one correct to 1 sig fig. 0.00723, correct to 1 sig fig. Okay, the difference here is that we have a bunch of zeros to the left of where actual digits start. These zeros don't count when we're talking about significant figures. Okay, if we wrote this number in scientific notation or standard form, it would be 7.23 times 10 to the power of negative 3. Okay, and when we're talking about 1 sig fig written this way, well, of course, that would be the 7. Okay, so now let's look at this number. The zeros, the first zeros do not count. If there are zeros in between, let's say this was 04 or something, then yes, this digit does count when we're counting sig fig. But the ones to the left do not. So the first one will be the first non-zero digit. Start from the left, look until we get to the 7. Now we look to the right of the 7, it's a 2, so we round down. So we're going to write 0.007. And that is this value here, correct to 1 significant figure.